I feel so disheveled. Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and the ladies are in the house today. It's Miss Astrology Day. Hey, Miss Astrology.
Hi. Hey,
Hey,
Sybil.
Miss
Hey, everyone.
Astrology.
Hi, Aprylete. So
Aprilette,
happy to
how
be
are
here.
you?
Disheveled, as you said.
No, no, you're really not. You look like a cute little college girl,
I
She
look like,
does.
chop it up.
but I feel different on the inside. But we are
Oh,
here. So that's all I can ask for is just being here, being present, and I will be in the mind.
Well, we appreciate your being here and being present. I am looking forward to our conversation, as always, that we have with you, Epaulet, as well as Ms. Astrology. And it's in the stars for us to be here together
Right.
yes. I love
and
it.
and to have conversations. We are also going to talk about our What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter in which we super serve the African American community with the information that we have, primarily directed towards Black folks. And we have, of course, politics and COVID updates, always necessary to have that and keep people in the know there. We have social justice as well as the LGBTQ representation. And Aprilette is here to talk to us about mental health and wellness. And certainly that is in the news. And I dare say, not only with recent situations and occurrences, but also in terms of the holidays and things like
Right.
that. So we will talk to Aprilette about that. And Ms. Astrology is here. We're not only going to talk
Hey,
about the Sagittarius season, but a look ahead to perhaps Capricorn and how it affects the change in the stars and in the moon and the sky and all of
and
that,
all that stuff.
as it applies to us, and especially this holiday season and what we need to do
Yes.
in looking ahead to 2023, because we're just a matter of days away from that
Wow.
changing over and flipping of the calendar. Do people still use calendars anymore? I don't know.
I mean, I thought we was going by the sun and the moon, but
Well, in your world, yes, we will go by the sun and the moon. So I don't
yes,
even know if the new year starts on January 1st, as far
it
as you're
does not.
concerned. Okay.
It does
When
not.
does it?
March 20th, April for Aries season is the
Got it.
actual new year.
Got it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the
Well,
actual new year.
Jesus was a Pisces too, Aprilette.
Yes,
So I don't know
I
if you
like to.
know
My
that. Yeah.
my
She's
brother.
like, I like that. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. It is absolutely free. We'd love for you to subscribe. Please go to SybilWilkes.com and give us your name and your email address. We'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday during the holidays. It doesn't matter. We will be there for you and providing content, information, and empowerment. And so, April, let's start with you. This was a really hard one for a lot of people to understand, and I asked you personally to address this issue about the apparent suicide of Stephen Twitch Boss. He is the
Yeah.
young man everybody knew from So You Think You Can Dance. He was also a co-host on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He and his wife were known for their co-hosting duties and all of their specials and the great love that they had for each other and respect for each other as dancers. It was
Yeah.
it really took the entertainment world, and I dare say a number of other communities by surprise, and it shocked and saddened a lot of people. I'm gonna admit to being one of those people. I just thought he was a delightful personality. He was a friend of mine, and
Mhm.
talked about how he was always such a good person to have in your corner. And a lot of people are saying nothing prepared them for this,
Yeah.
including his wife, who was quite shocked about his manner of disappearing and then unfortunately discovering his body later this week. So, Aprilette, would you please give us your rundown of what happened to Stephen Twitch Boss?
Yes, like everyone probably knows as of now, the news broke on Wednesday and his body was found on Tuesday. And what I've gathered from this, at the end of the day, suicide is something that is not expected. Sometimes there are signs and sometimes there's not signs. And a lot of people, especially when it comes to celebrities or people that are successful, we kind of wonder like why, like what was going on. We notice that they're overtly happy and excited and just loving life, but we don't understand what could be going on inside. And sometimes when it comes to suicide, there's three main components: there's hopeless, there's worthless, and there's helpless. So
Mm,
we don't know which one of those that he was feeling, maybe a combination of all, maybe one, or maybe if it was something that was abrupt that was going on, and it was just a split second. But when you think about the way that the death happened, and leaving the house and getting a hotel room and leaving with the bag, some things that were reported by TMZ, it seems to me is that I wouldn't say he was at peace with it, but it was, you know, when you make certain moves and you call the hotel and things like that, when you make certain moves, it's like you are aware of what's going on within thyself, and you have made some type of peace with yourself when it comes to that. And just being an advocate and reading a lot of stories from suicide survivors, when they tell their stories, 9 times out of 10, it is a cry for help. If they weren't successful in the suicide, it was a cry for help. So this is just very disheartening, and suicide is never an easy topic to talk about it. Even when you reached out to me, it's like, hey, would you cover this? I was a little choked up, to be honest, because I have 2 people that have, you know, took their life by suicide in my life. So it's just such a very heavy topic, especially when it's unexpected, and there's nothing that we could really do on the outside to prevent something like this from happening.
Exactly right. This is, and I've had a family member who has attempted suicide, and this was many years ago, and the response to it was not what one would think, and one would think as proper response today. You know what I mean? It's back in that time, it was suicide was a coward's way out, and luckily now there's a different way of thinking, I believe, amongst most people. And Ms. Astrology, you're nodding in agreement. If you,
I wonder though, did he leave a note? Like, did he leave like a letter? Because most people do, right? When they are attempting suicide, or there's oftentimes like something. But it also makes me think sometimes when people are too happy or too like, and we would think about framing our questions into more of like, instead of how are you doing, just kind of asking people, how are you feeling?
Right.
Because I'm doing fine. But then how you're feeling, that has to go a little bit deeper. And I think a lot of times we don't really check in with our feelings. And I've been watching this really good podcast lately that's really on like neuroscience and stuff. He said another good question to ask people is, how are you sleeping? Which I find to be very question. Yeah, and I found that to be very interesting when I looked at Twitch's chart. And sometimes I feel crazy like going to astrology on something like this, but in my mind, you guys, astrology just helps me make things make sense.
Connect
like,
the
make
dots.
it make sense. Yeah. Right. He was a Virgo, and he had a Capricorn moon. The thing about Virgos is they are extremely self-critical. They are really, really hard on themselves. They think a lot. They want everything to be perfect. For the rest of us, everything looked perfect.
Right.
So but for him, it wasn't. Then when I look at some of the transits that were in his chart, it makes me wonder if there was some kind of financial loss that happened. Maybe he had invested really big and took a loss, or maybe he was, had money or some kind of involvement or owed money or something like that. I don't know. But where Mars is transiting in his 8th house is joint resources. It is other people's money. It's also a place of trauma as well. And so if he wasn't checking in with how he was feeling, and he just felt like the only perfect way to end this is for the wife to be able to get the life insurance policy, that'll settle the debt. Maybe that's where his mind was at that time. But I mean, again, how do you make it make sense?
And when you bring up the financial aspect of this, there are studies that show when it comes to men who take their lives by suicide, a lot of it deals with financial reasons. And of course, we don't know. And if this information is even going to be available to us, we don't know. But I know that when it comes to statistics, that is one statistic when it comes to men who take their life.
Yeah, and Venus and Mercury are now in Capricorn. He had that Capricorn moon. So Capricorn is very much about handling their business, like achievement and just doing the best they can, going to new heights. And so if he just got some kind of information, Mars and Gemini, that was not success, then maybe now he felt like a failure, because Virgo is just really hard on themselves like that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I did see that there was a story with the angle talking about his finances, and they said there seemed to be nothing indicating, but how do you know?
How do you know?
Right.
And as Aprylette said, I believe you said that there was no note, and I haven't seen anything regarding that either. We do have people who are joining us and making comment. Those close to Twitch probably knew what was going on with him, and that is likely to be true.
Yeah.
His wife is claiming that she had no idea what was troubling him and what it might have been the issue. Kimberly Jackson on Facebook said, "Pray for his family. He had a mother and a grandfather who had a birthday recently. Not
Wow.
sure if he had siblings, but he was so well loved."
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
it's
I
hard
hope
when
this.
someone is. Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just hope that this softens our hearts, if you will, for as we go into this holiday season, to maybe it not be so much about the gift exchange and the food and that kind of thing, to maybe to where we're genuinely connecting with each other and
Right.
genuinely, having conversations that are heartfelt. And don't forget to touch each other, you guys. Like when
Yeah.
you're seeing your family, that's
A
something that
hug,
we've got
a
away
hug
from.
goes a long way, even if
I
you are
love
masked.
hugs.
Yeah.
Yes, wear your mask and hug.
Yeah.
Just kind of do all those things, just kind of in prevention. I see people kind of making comments about how they just kind of don't feel like it's fair for us to speculate, which I get. So let's see how we can just, as we go into the Christmas, the holidays, how we
I
can
think
be more aware.
speculation, it may not be fair for us to speculate, but
We are humans.
when we're
Yes.
talking about this, what do you expect us to do?
No,
If we
absolutely.
don't have concrete proof, if we don't have a note, if we don't have anything from his family,
Right.
should we not talk about it at all? I think this is something we need to just to talk about.
Absolutely.
And so I disagree with you about speculation. I think speculation is a part of the conversation on each of our parts, and also perhaps not to get any concrete answers, because we're probably not going to get that. It's certainly not in this discussion, but just the fact that we are talking about it is important, and the
Absolutely.
reasons why
Agreed.
people do this and how they reach
Agreed.
that point.
Agreed.
And it could
Yeah.
save a life. This conversation could save a life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely.
And don't go into debt for your family and them kids and all that stuff for Christmas.
This is a
Don't
good
do
time
that.
to talk about that too. Yeah.
For sure, because I've told everybody in my life, I just moved across country. Do not ask for a Christmas gift from me. You will get a card from me and Gucci with a nice smile and a FaceTime. That is all I can get this
I'm
holiday
giving
season.
blessings and well
Literally.
wishes, okay?
Exactly
blessings
right.
and well wishes.
Yeah, and champagne wishes is right. So
Right.
that's where we are with this, and I'm sorry if you don't agree with our speculating on this, but I think there's still a lot of questions, and especially from and this has happened before. Someone from the outside looking in is having a dream life, and and how you reach this point, whether it's an accident or not. How you reach this point is very sad. The one thing I will say, and I've said this before, his going someplace outside of their home was perhaps, if he was considering suicide, was an act of kindness and bravery for him to not do this in their home, where their children and his wife and children and other family members would have to be confronted with this, and the memories of that will always follow them.
Yeah, right. That's true.
I had a friend of the family who many years ago, I never believed this, and I didn't figure this out till I was an adult, and somebody said that he committed suicide, but he was discovered in the family's garage, and so for that reason, his wife could never go to the garage.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is something to think about.
Right.
So
it
you
does
think,
seem that this was something he was thinking about. He
Yeah.
really wasn't just a spur of the moment kind of thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving on to some of the other items. Aprylette, I'm sorry, did you have anything else you
Oh
wanted
no,
to add to this?
I just wanted to leave my passage, which was
Yes.
Psalms chapter 34, verses 17 through 20. And it just says the righteous cry out and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all of their troubles. So that is a little piece that you can hold dear to you. If you are troubled, if you are weary, you can always call unto your God, whoever that may be, and he will hear you. So.
And I also wanted to make note of the fact that you also included in the story the new 3-digit emergency line.
Yes.
The Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, dialing 988 is the number. Or if you want to text it, and I don't know if people are like me, when you are in the middle of something going on, and spelling out of strength is not an easy word. I don't know why they would use strength, but texting the word strength to the crisis text line at 741-741. That's difficult enough to remember, but STRENGTH.
It should have been help.
Yeah.
Help.
Something very, very
Something.
simple. Help.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Somebody thought that was really clever and smart. I don't think so. But it does take strength in order to do that. Rosemary Smith says this Christmas, instead of gifts, I'm giving my opinion. Get excited.
She got a lot to say.
I don't think she should do that. It's gonna cause some issues.
It would be great if we could be excited about the season. Unfortunately, in the news business, there isn't a lot to get excited about. It's far and few in between. This story that I'm about is nothing exciting, Rosemary. So hang on, we'll get to the happy part. The House Committee, the House Oversight Committee, they held a testimony. Testimonies were given yesterday before the House Oversight Committee, and this was talking to survivors of the mass shooting that occurred at Club Q in Colorado Springs, Colorado, in less than a month ago. The goal was to highlight the real and growing problem of violence experienced by survivors of the horrific attacks, and this was also on the anniversary of the shooting of a school in Connecticut, in which school children, first graders, were killed, as well as 6 school administrators. And to think about it, these kids would have been about 16, 17 years old today had they lived, had this event not happened. It was also designed by Democrats to highlight the importance of addressing the problems on a federal level, because most of the problems are caused by, if you will, the Republican state legislatures, who are purposefully designing legislation that not only disenfranchises people of the LGBTQ community, but makes some of the things that they do unlawful. And putting people on the and giving license to people who don't like this, who do not like the LGBTQ lifestyles, and giving license to the hatred and the violent acts against communities, such as was experienced by Club Q. And the Human Rights Campaign has talked about the number of deaths regarding transgender people over the last several years, and now the numbers are going up. And we talk about the use of automatic weapons, and this also brought to mind the situation in Sandy Hook, as well as what happened in we can just keep laying these stories out. What happened in Colorado Springs, what happened in Buffalo, New York, what happened in Uvalde, Texas, what happened, and the use of them. So let's keep this in mind, and keep these people in mind, as well as we look to the new year and what we're going to do, how we're going to help this country and help the people in our country to get past some negativity, some horrific acts, and help them both with their mental as well as their physical states.
Yeah, it seems like to me, it seems like it's just gun policies. Like it's just, that's to like, okay, we have to deal with the other things one by one with the mental health and everybody's, but let's go ahead and take away the guns, or at least make them stricter. Like, I'm not saying take guns away. I mean, I do live in Texas, you guys, but who needs an automatic weapon? This is something that I don't understand. Who's, needs that many rounds? Or for what? We're not at war, people.
And they said, well, we like to hunt animals. Why do you need an automatic weapon to kill an animal? First of all, I don't agree with the whole thing about killing animals. So that's a whole nother thing. But I don't understand, that's your excuse.
Right. What kind of hunter are you if you actually need an automatic weapon?
Right.
What happened
Yeah,
to a
what are your
rifle?
skills if you need an automatic
Right.
weapon? Donald Trump Jr., I'm sorry.
Right.
So,
Not sorry.
what do I know?
Yeah, I just don't get
Um,
it. Mhm.
and also take a look at what the resignation of Kirsten Sinema means for the Democrats in the United States House, if it means anything or not. And also the curiousness of the placement of her announcement right after Reverend Raphael Warnock won a re-election to the United States House, giving the Democrats a 2-vote majority over the Republicans, and now declaring herself as an independent, and now she can play both sides of the field, and which is not the best adult thing to do.
I cannot make my eyes roll enough.
Okay.
For this, it's so cringe. One thing, I looked at her chart, and one thing that I found interesting, she's a Libra rising, and so your rising sign is at the time of your birth, what sign was kind of coming over the eastmost of the horizon when you were born.
Mhm.
Libra is going to go back and forth. Libra is this and that. They're indecisive. They can't make up their mind. They say they're going to do one thing, then they're going to do another thing. You give a point, they play devil's advocate on the other side of it. So this actually kind of fits into her astrology. And then, but with her having this, and she also has an Aquarius moon, and she's got Saturn there right now. I think there's going to be a nice hard lesson for her that she doesn't necessarily see just yet. Like she's not.
Oh, she's very confident in her inability, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out
It's
in
not going to be what she thinks it is.
2024 when she's running for re-election. Let's move to the what's really going on section, and we do have a question of the day. But Ms. Astrology, I do want to note to folks who have questions about a Sagittarius season, we have already planned a show regarding the future of Sagittarius season and what to look forward to in 2003. You and I having this discussion, so look forward to that show. But in the meantime, was there anything that we need to discuss regarding Sagittarius season, what this means, and
well, we're about to wrap it up, honestly, because we go into Capricorn season on the 21st with the winter solstice. So it just really feels like, to me, the most important thing, it's not even just about Sagittarius season. It's so much of the other planets and what's going on with them. It's like, I feel like a lot of us have learned some really good lessons, some bigger lessons during Sag season, and we've been optimistic, or our faith feels like it's being restored, and we're feeling good about some things. But now that we go into Capricorn season, now we're like, okay, I got to do this work, I got to reach this goal, I got to achieve this thing. But it's not time. And this is one thing that Sybil and I talked about on the show that's coming up on the 29th, I believe is when it airs, that listen, it's just not time. It's more of a time to reconnect with our families, reconnect with our core values, like going into this new season, like reestablishing our roots, because I had said it, I say this all the time. I talk about, I have a daughter that has a lot of Aquarius placement. She's my smartest kid by far. And I remember.
Do you tell that to the other kids?
Oh, they all know that I think that she's the smartest. Absolutely. When she says something, I'm like, don't argue with her. You know she's the smartest. She challenges me a lot of times. But one thing that she says, because I would always complain about winter and it's dark and it's cold and it's uncomfortable. And I'm like, why do we even need winter? What grows in winter? And she goes, roots. And it was so profound, right? And so it just really made me switch my mindset about winter, that we have to reestablish and nurture our roots at home. Really taking care of ourselves, really establishing our own traditions, our own ways of celebrating the holidays, whatever that means. It's just
getting rest. I mean, bears don't hibernate, and for no reason.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and those things that are no longer serving us, being open to letting them go. We prune the trees back. The roots are still there, but if we leave those tree or those leaves, or if we leave those things that aren't producing for us anymore, they just zap our energy. They just take from the roots, right? And they're still not going to produce anything when spring gets here, which is the actual new year.
Right.
So just take care of yourself, nurture your roots right now. That's all. And besides, when the new year comes, both Mercury and Mars will be retrograde. Let that be your excuse for not starting New Year's resolutions.
I love that.
Right, exactly.
Right. I still need a moment.
And we are looking towards eventually a new year, whether it's January 1st or in April, March or April. I do want to ask people, as we look forward to this next year and look back in terms of a question of the day, what's the best line or piece of advice you've ever received or given? We had dinner in New York a couple of days ago with the star of The Equalizer. No, it wasn't Queen Latifah. It was Tori Kittles, who stars as the lieutenant. And perhaps I couldn't get enough out of him. Perhaps the love interest of Queen Latifah in the show. So The Equalizer. So he said that how everything he was interested in was in front of him, how and this was a great line, because we were seated at a table for three, and Yolanda was on one side, I was on the other, and she left the middle seat for Corey. And so an incredible gentleman, but the waiter asked him, would you like to move to the other side? He sat, which is quite unusual for a lot of people, because people don't like to have their backs to the room. And he said, no, right here is where I want to be, because everything I have is right in front of me. Everything that I'm interested in, meeting conversation with these two women, is right in front of him, which we thought was quite profound, and a great line, gentlemen, by the way. But it was really cool to be regarded that way, and telling the wait staff, and I have people, even today, who's going after you? You can't sit with your back to the room. But the fact is, he was very comfortable with where he was and his placement because of the conversation that he was having with us. And I thought that was just very nice. So talk about the best line you've ever given or received, if you can remember that. And we'd like to hear from folks that are watching and listening today. Aprylete, surely you have been on the receiving end of some great lines.
Oh my goodness. I probably have, especially this year, but I cannot think of anything at this moment.
Okay, we'll give you a little time to think about it. Kind of go back in your mind a little bit. And Ms. Astrology, I know that you too have been on the receiving end of some great lines.
I really have. I think what my daughter says comes up to me a lot, specifically when I'm dealing with like seasonal depression and stuff like that. But one of my pastors used to just say some of the greatest things, but something that just kind of sticks out to me is when I would complain about other people doing things, or why somebody does this, or why somebody does that. He would just say, just keep living. Like, you'll see, it'll all make sense. Just keep living, and you'll have a better understanding of why people do things or why they don't do things. You'll change yourself. He's like, so it's like, maybe I don't subscribe to that or don't agree with that, but as I keep living and experiencing life, maybe I'll have a little bit more understanding for, okay, that's not something I would do, but I see, like, I can understand. I ain't saying it's right.
And that is something that Yolanda's grandmother used to always say, you just keep living, keep living. And, if you're lucky enough, you will, and you will see how things fall out and how you make your decisions and react to things as well.
Right. Or saying that you'll never do something. It's like, just keep living.
Okay, right. Okay. Our friend Brian Scott on Facebook says, life is a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. If you're lucky, Brian, you're absolutely right. It is a marathon. Yes. And keep your pace. Z Walker on Facebook says, my mantra to my daughter as she was growing up and confronting challenges, you'll live.
Yeah.
My mom used to tell me, that's why God made erasers. Don't be afraid to go out there and make your decisions, but know that it's not written in stone. That if you don't, if you make a mistake or you find that decision you've made does not work out for you, that you just use that big eraser that God gave you, and move in another direction, make another decision, try something new or different if this doesn't work out for you. And that was the best advice I think that I've ever been given. And also, I also like to mention the fact that my mom was married 4 times, so she used an eraser quite a bit, perhaps on the wedding licenses, but it worked for her. Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely. And I'm
right.
glad she pursued to that 4th time, because if she hadn't met my dad, no telling what would have happened. Yeah. Nikki J on YouTube says, my grandma said you can see what or who is behind you. You can or you can see who or what is behind you.
It makes me think of this story. This is a personal story. I was tailgating a little bit one time on a guy, and he didn't like it. And so he pulls up right next to me and he rolls his window down, and I roll mine down like, yes. And he's like, are you in a rush? And I was like, actually, I am. And he was like, well, you don't have to be so close behind me. And I said, sir, you can only focus on and have impact on what's in front of you. Do not worry about what's behind you.
Okay. Bravo.
I was like, yeah.
So let me ask you this, and this is, I appreciate what you said to him, because you really can only focus on, when you're driving, you should only be able to focus on what's ahead of you. But would you still do that today, in today's age where the people respond?
Yeah, probably not. I'm not, maybe just depends on my mood, because sometimes I'm really bold for no reason. So
be careful.
So it might just depend. He had his wife next to him, so maybe I felt a or a woman was like in between, like she was in the passenger seat. And I thought it was funny when he was like, are you in a rush or something? And I was like, yes. And he was like, yeah, move it.
Okay, and so you move out of the way. Hey, move out the way. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Aprylete, we're not going to let you off the hook, but we will take.
I was off the hook, and I was thinking,
even though
at the end of the day, I can't think of anything, but I will say this year literally has changed my life, and God has placed so many wonderful people in my life this year. And I'm sure they've said many things, like, and I could just say you, for example, Yogi, for example. So it's just like, I've heard so much this year, and it has just changed the trajectory of just like my new decade that I'm in. So that's what I got right there.
Okay.
The people that I've met this year.
But I really want to hear some lines of fellas.
Yes, it will get her.
Okay, I'm trying to get in there, Ms. Astrology. Working my journalistic skills, as it were. And Yolanda, do we have any other people who are giving as we come to a close of this segment? Do we have any other people?
Shirley and Tony Davis says, my mom shared that life is a journey with God. I'm looking at the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Aprylete, one thing that I've been given to pass on to you is be gentle with yourself. Take it easy on yourself.
Yeah, that is definitely the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will use that line. There we go.
Okay. Yep. Very good. All right. Fair enough. All right. So that is our what's really going on. And Ms. Astrology, as we are wrapping up this segment, we have a couple of minutes. Anything that you want to look ahead to for Capricorn season that we did not discuss?
I just want people to realize that Mars is still retrograde. Mercury will be retrograde. So all of these lofty goals and accomplishments that you feel coming on, because that's that's the energy of Capricorn season. And now Venus is there and Mercury is there. So we are thinking about it, and we're seeing the value in our plans, and we want to go, but it's just not time yet. So don't pressure yourself. Don't let the energy get to you to make you take action. It's actually to be used in a way to where you're reviewing, reorganizing, rethinking some things, replanning, restructuring. So do any of those relax, read, redirect. It's all about those kind of things. Recharge. A tip that I gave my clients recently was, and if you're going into the new year and you're like, well, it's still a new year, we use this calendar, I still want some kind of goals. Well, then focus on what you're not going to do as you go into the new year. So instead of saying, I'm going to work out, I'm going to go to the gym, say, okay, I'm not going to eat after 7 o'clock.
Right.
I'm not gonna instead take some things away instead of trying to add things right now, because those
Love
are the
that.
things that aren't gonna actually stick.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And
That's a better approach.
or
Mhm.
enhance your life. And Lord knows
Right.
we need to work on those things that are for our good and not for the
Absolutely.
bad. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, ladies, let's move to the trending topics section. And this is out of Fort Worth, Texas, in which a white policeman was on trial for the murder of a young Black woman who was in her own home. This is the case of a Tatiana Jefferson who was killed by a white former Fort Worth policeman, Aaron Dean. They were called to he and his partner were called to the home in Fort Worth, Texas, and because a neighbor had called the non-emergency line to ask for a wellness check, the front door of her family's home was open. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so the police went. They did not identify themselves. And while his partner was on one side, Aaron Dean was on another. She heard a noise and got her gun. And her nephew that she was playing video games with at that time said that the doors were open. They were trying to air out the house because he made hamburgers and burned them earlier in the night. She went to get her gun and she saw the policeman's figure. He saw hers, and without identifying, and just said, "Let me see your hands," and then immediately shot and killed her. This has taken 3 years for this case to get to court. 6 days of testimony, 13 hours of deliberation, and the information came down today. Aaron Dean was not found guilty of murder, but the alternative given by the judge was manslaughter. He could face up to 20 years in prison if he is found, as he has been found guilty, but whatever the judge determines that the sentence will be. It is extremely sad that this has happened. Another Black person killed in their home. For people who don't remember, Botham John was a young Black man in his apartment in downtown Dallas. And a policewoman who said that she was working a number of hours and wasn't looking, wasn't thinking, and went into an apartment that she thought was hers and saw a man sitting on her couch watching television, and what he was doing was relaxing after a day's work, watching television and eating a bowl of ice cream. This policewoman came in and shot him to death. And they happened very close in proximity in terms of time to each other. And this was something that I can't speak for everyone in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but it was devastating to not only report it, but to watch people go through this. And Tatiana Jefferson was merely protecting her nephew. This cop did not do his due diligence. The body camera footage does not indicate in terms of identifying and things like that. So it's just very sad. 28-year-old Black woman lost her life. And her nephew, who is now 11, got on the stand to give his perspective, what happened that night as his aunt was protecting him and their home, and how she lost her life. October 12th, 2019.
A blink of an eye.
In the blink of an eye. Absolutely right.
And then in the blink of in a blink of an eye of taking her life, like, it's also caused so much trauma for this baby.
Yeah.
Like
he'll live with for the rest of his life.
For the rest of his life that he'll have to deal with. I wonder though, is it something in the wording of what murder versus manslaughter where he was able to
intent?
How is this not murder?
Intent.
When you shoot a gun at somebody, isn't it not your intent to kill
them?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And police always say that their intent is not to wound, which I always ask policemen, why don't you wound? Shoot to wound,
shoot in the leg and the arm. I'm confused.
Not shoot to kill. But they say
it seems like they always shoot to kill.
That's not their charge, is to shoot to wound.
Wow.
I could not disagree more, but I'm not a cop. I don't run a police department. I have them in my family, and they've tried to make me understand this, that if you were in a situation and someone was holding your life, in the air there, what would you rather have us do? Would you I want you to wound him to make him stop.
Yeah. Shoot him in the leg to bring him down, and then we'll figure out the particulars. But
Right.
Yeah.
But cops tell me, oh, you're not being realistic. And okay. All right. Sorry.
Realistic is that he lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Realistic is not taking humans' lives.
I have a yoga friend here in Houston, and she's actually from the Fort Worth area. And she started an initiative here in Houston with the police department for bringing mindfulness to the police academy, and like how to practice breath work, calming words and techniques. And what we found really shocking when she was telling us about this is there's nothing like this in the police academy. They don't teach de-escalation. They don't teach police officers how to calm themselves down, how to be mindful and present and really have a soothing conversation with somebody, or to approach a situation with an intent to resolve an issue versus, to flex their authority or use their power in some kind of way. So this is actually getting really big for her. So I hope that we can see it go even bigger. And maybe that's something that if you're in your community and you know someone that works in, the police force or something like that, and somebody that practices yoga or mindfulness or whatever, we got to find a way to merge the two.
Yep.
Because they're killing us.
I really believe that. And shout out to my yoga instructor and in the Fort Worth area and making something like this happen. But I really believe that not only in the violent confrontation with people, but also those who are mentally ill. And instead of using their weapons to de-escalate, as you say, Ms. Astrology, use to be of the mindset to use your words to bring the situation down, the temperature
especially if
down.
there is not an immediate danger, or
And I don't even understand when people have a knife, how they say, you feel how you feel threatened.
Just pepper spray them, like, well, don't y'all got mace and stuff?
I've just seen this video or this story about a officer like in Jacksonville or Louisville, and it was he ended up shooting and killing a mentally ill man who was in the woods with an axe. But in the video, he just said, put the axe down, but they were very, very far apart. And then he ended up shooting him dead without any.
And it's crazy. Like, it's actually appropriate to have an axe in the woods.
In the woods,
Not saying he was cutting down trees, but that's what you would use an axe for, right? So,
right.
Wow.
So, Yolanda, you say that people have some thoughts they want to express. Yolanda Livingston on YouTube again. You'll talk about Harry and Meghan. I could talk about Harry and Meghan all day long. However, I've been told that people are not that interested in Harry and Meghan.
Are you gonna watch
I didn't get it. I thought it was cute. I didn't see
Have you watched?
I saw the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, the next 3 come out today.
It made me like them more. It actually made me like them more, and it made me feel like I think they really are in love, like genuinely. So
I love the way he protects his wife. I think that is what makes me fall in love with. I've always liked him because they called him the spare, and I never thought that was, even as an only child, I never thought that was fair. In a family situation, is to the heir, who was William, and the spare, who was Harry. And so but I love that, even when he realized, what could happen or how his family was acting, he thought that it was best to follow her to America, first Canada, and then finally finding their home and their space to call their own in California. I absolutely love that. I got to tell you, Yolanda, I have not seen it. I don't have Netflix anymore. So, but it's my
Miss Astrology, share your password.
And here's the thing. I've shared my password with people, but people who have Netflix now won't share it with me. So that's okay. That's okay. Bryce Scott said Meghan's story should be more about her acknowledgement of her race and culture. No matter how light you are, she had to marry
White.
She does say that in the documentary that she never felt like a black woman.
And
right.
She
and Go ahead, Miss Astrology. I just want to.
No. But it was she did say that in the documentary that she didn't actually ever feel like a Black woman until
or get treated like a Black woman.
Or
until
I think she said that she never
lived a
felt
lifestyle.
one.
Yeah, she never really.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting, to piggyback on that, is that her mother never had that talk with her.
Never had that talk with her.
But
yeah, my dad did big time. He
Yeah.
like, listen here, little girl, little Black girl. From a young age, he did not play that. But maybe that's a little bit more of a father being proud of their seed and their child. And maybe that's where my dad brought that energy from, to where women were more receivers. And so it was just like, oh, she's just my baby. That's all I see is my baby. So I don't know if maybe that was a perspective.
I think that it's really interesting that there are Black women and white women rather, who, like Halle Berry's mother, made sure that she was in the company of Black people and understood how she was regarded as a Black woman. I wonder.
And Alicia Keys as well.
And Alicia Keys is another example of that. Yep. Their mothers understood how they would be regarded and how they would be treated, and how they needed to assimilate into a Black community.
But maybe it was from where Megan was from, like where she lived, because Alicia Keys came from New York. Yeah, I mean, in New York, she needed her to know that, because it was
Halle Berry from Cleveland. So and there's there is that. And maybe there weren't family members for Megan to associate with from her mother's side. That I don't know. I feel. I just know that I just don't understand how you go to Northwestern in this day and age, and she's quite a bit younger than I am, and don't have some sort of identity as a Black woman. And Northwestern is a predominantly white university. I get all that. I went there, been there, done that. But I do think that there are organizations and there are people who will let you know your place. This isn't about
she was very passing. Yeah, we both said at the same time. She was very passing. Like, she was just, and maybe that's just what she did, not realizing it, because she never had the conversation otherwise.
Exactly. Yolanda, I'm sorry I cut you off there. SB on YouTube says, Sybil and friends, if time permits, please talk about the HBCU student arrested for not apologizing to the white professor, please and thank you. I don't have enough information on that. I've
never heard.
I think this is the white professor. If this is the case, I'm thinking about at Tennessee State. Is this the one you're talking about, SB, where the professor was fired for the way that he spoke to a Black student? And from what I understand, there was an apology. I don't agree with having to apologize. I think that freedom of speech is necessary, especially in the college classroom, in the college environment. But if you hurt somebody, I don't think you say things to be hurtful. I think that you that's wrong, to be hurtful. But
and he might be talking about, I'm sorry to cut you off, but he might, SB may be talking about, and I don't know a lot about this story either, but there was a student who was arrested in the classroom because she didn't apologize to her professor, who was white, during some type of presentation. Maybe she was late or something on the presentation. She still wanted to participate. And
that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
we are arrested because
the teacher called the campus police and everything, so she was in handcuffs in the video because she wouldn't apologize to the teacher.
That concerns me, because I hate forced apologies. I am a mother that raises her child well. I've never made them apologize. I do bring up to them, like, now do you think if you said I'm sorry that would make them feel better, since you hurt their feelings? What, never, you need to say sorry. So now I'm like, whoa, because I'm raising little rebels.
So but what I hate, Ms. Astrology, is people say, I'm sorry if what I said made you feel some kind of way or hurt your feelings. If what I said, yes,
exactly.
Yes, it did. That's not an apology to me. You know what I mean?
No,
but
it's definitely not.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what? That school should be arrested. The president of that university should be arrested, as well as the professor, for taking somebody. It happened in Winston-Salem in North Carolina. So that is the one. I think that's the one you're talking about, Aprylete. And that is so crazy to me. How are you going to be
Wild.
And how is that arrestable? Like, even with the police, it's again going back to like, what kind of training is this?
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand like asking her to leave the classroom, but then at the same time,
yeah,
can you even ask her to do that if she pays? Right.
You don't call the campus police. If you can't handle that, then you shouldn't be in the classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then it just escalates from there. So now we have police involved, and then how we feel. So it's just everything heightened. So of course now it's a bigger,
Exactly right. Wow. Exactly right.
Wow.
A couple of more things we will talk about in the future. First Lady Jill Biden apparently on the Biden for re-election campaign bandwagon now. Seemingly she is all for it and expected to give the president her thumbs up for that. And also the list of the Grinchiest cities. So let's move to entertainment, and we can address that. Finance Buzz looked at more than a dozen factors to determine which of America's biggest cities have the least Christmas cheer this holiday season. And I will tell you, probably your number one city may be one that a lot of people expect. But what is surprising, ladies, is that, and all of us are in Texas, and see, Gucci understands. All of us are in the state of Texas, and 3 cities are among the top 10 Grinchiest cities.
I do not have one Christmas decoration in my house at all. And I'm supposed to be hosting a Christmas party on Monday.
Well, I need you to go to Dollar Tree and get you some decorations.
I literally have a tree. I know I have a Christmas tree in my attic, but I'm just like, ugh.
I have on Christmas. I have on elf slippers.
Aww, you want my T-shirt?
Yeah.
I love that. That's cute.
And I don't have my Santa pajama pants on, so sorry about that. But New York is the Grinchiest city in the country.
Wow.
Los Angeles is number 2. San Antonio, Texas is number 3. And they have a number of metrics that they use to evaluate this. Chicago is number 4. Can't agree with that. Memphis, Tennessee is number 5. Phoenix, Arizona, 6. Dallas is 7. Columbus, Ohio is 8. Oklahoma City is 9, and Houston is number 10.
And Houston,
where do they get there? Where do they get?
I knew I was going to be in there.
Data from.
So the categories were communal celebrations and decorations. So we know where Ms. Astrology. Why?
Sorry, Houston, I helped us out.
Holiday shopping, holiday season of giving, like volunteering and doing things like that. Holiday cheer and holiday jeer. They determined the most and cities with the most holiday events and festivals. Oklahoma City had the fewest holiday celebrations of any city in the country. And
it's Oklahoma. What do you expect in Oklahoma? Sorry if anybody is from Oklahoma, but what do you do?
I know. Of the 50 top Grinchiest cities, Hartford, Connecticut is the least, along with Providence, Rhode Island, Minneapolis, Orlando, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Riverside, California, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, Utah, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, Ohio. And speaking of Ohio, I saw a great show last night. I want to share this with people. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was on ABC, and it was produced by John Legend. And he brought this man to his hometown in Springfield, Ohio. If anybody saw this, and you can remind me of what the name of it was, or Google it if you can while I'm talking about it. But they brought this man to Springfield, Ohio. In a matter of days, he brought this whole city together with people who could or could not sing, but to bring to create another community of artists and not so great artists, but people through the power of singing. And it was so incredible. Not only did they come together to sing, people who lived on one part of the town never met people from the other part of town, people who lived alternative lifestyles, meeting people who were more mainstream. It was so great. And for whatever reason, I stayed with the channel while I'm normally going to watch the Hallmark channel. But this was so much better than a Hallmark movie because it was real life. And it was just so beautiful. This man's name was David.
Finding Harmony.
Finding Harmony. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. It was so great. If anybody else saw this, or if you can go to Hulu and check it out, I still have my Hulu account.
You
so
have, okay.
I can send you the password there. For that I also wanted to share with you 2 really great opportunities we had to see plays in New York over this past weekend. First was Strange Loop. And it's a play within a play. It's about a Black man who is writing a script for a play, for a musical. And he is gay, overweight Black man who works as an usher in a theater, in a Broadway theater. And so it's his story with all the voices in his head and his family members. And there's 6 people who are the voices in his head as well as portray family members. It is sensational, and as Yolanda said, the music is incredible. So it's Strange Loop, and Strange Loop is closing very soon. So I want people to know it's closing on Broadway, and it will be at the Lyceum Theater until January 15th. So if you can get there, if you're in the New York area or you're headed to New York, check out Strange Loop. It's different. It's not like any musical I've ever seen, but it is incredible. And to see all these incredible Black people on stage who are immensely talented, it really does your heart good. Speaking of immensely talented people on the stage, Black folks, this weekend we also saw The Piano Lesson. That is the August Wilson play, and it is phenomenal. And a really interesting change of perspective. It's directed by Samuel Jackson's wife, Samuel L. Jackson. It portrays the character, but in the character of the young man who Samuel L. Jackson played 30-something years ago, is in that place now, is his nephew and family friend, John David Washington, son of Denzel. Oh, wow. He is incredible. He has great energy, and it's really interesting to see this flip and turn of the pages. It is also on a limited run. It's going to run through the end of January. So if you get a chance to see it, Beauty and the Beast comes on tonight with her.
Oh,
yeah, that's another thing.
I love her.
Reminded me of that. Yeah, I did set my DVR for that because we got more work to do. But Samuel Jackson and John David Robinson and Danielle, gosh darn you, if you're not the most talented woman in the business, Brooks plays the female lead in this play. Danielle Brooks, you may remember her from Orange is the New Black. She's also going to be in the new updated version of the Color Purple. Yeah. She is unbelievable at Bernie's, and then she sings at this one moment. It's just, whew, I got chills. I got absolute chills. And also the theater is so great because the theater is also happening in the audience, because there's a lot of amen and people are talking like they're in their own living rooms, and this one woman, I swear she talked through the whole thing. We were sitting right next to her. She, and I'm assuming it was her husband, talked throughout the whole time. And even in the intermission, when Yolanda went up to, I said, and she's still talking. They're deciding where they're going to eat after, and they're looking at the menu online. It was quite a theater experience. So I highly recommend it. It was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. Please go see those if you can, and support Black theater and Black folks doing great things in the theater. We're going to close out with Yogi's Jewel, our daily inspiration. The best time to relax your mind, always. Always take that opportunity. Take that opportunity. And
there you go, Aprylete. Take that one.
Take that one too, and as you be gentle on yourself. Okay, Ms. Astrology, thank you for a great year.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate our partnership. And if people want to participate in your webinar, when will that be?
It's on January 8th on Sunday, and we're just going to prepare for the year ahead. And we're going to, review some things that were happening and prepare ourselves. We're not going to start on the 1st. We're going to do it on the 8th. Cosmicallylit.com to sign up. Also, I want to tell people a great gift is to get someone a personal reading with me. So that's something that I've been seeing pick up over the holidays. If you don't know what to gift people Fun fact, 9 out of 10, 30 under 30 have an astrology app on their phone. So they want a reading.
I do. And mine is
I
the
know
pattern.
I know.
She rolled her eyes at that.
As long as you have one, that's a start.
That's great. That's great. Aprylete, thank you for joining us this year. We really appreciate you and look forward to another great year. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon. Love you back. Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everybody. And as Yolanda said to Aprylete, be gentle on yourself. Okay. Aloha.